Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
It's Myriam with Before You Buy, and what you see here in front of me is called the Instacube. It is essentially a photo frame that you can hang somewhere, or, well, probably not hang, it's a little thick, but put on a shelf or something, and it shows you your Instagram feed, right? Kind of cool. There's lots of digital photo frames out there. Some of them are connected nowadays, but you have to understand the context of this product. It was launched, it was crowdfunded about 2.5, 3 years ago now. And for a long time, it looked like we weren't going to get any product from these people. Now, you know that crowdfunding doesn't mean you're going to get something necessarily, but they did reach their goal. I actually was a backer. I paid $100 for this device. And it took them forever. We had all but given up on them. And they finally shipped this thing late last year. And unfortunately, it was designed 3 years ago. So the guts of it are horrendously terrible. It's basically a very cheap Android tablet from 3 years ago, shoehorned into this enclosure, and turned into a digital photo frame that connects to your Instagram feed and displays it for you. So, I wanted to show you quickly what it looks like. There is, first of all, it has this kind of retro vibe with, the Polaroid kind of look and feel of basically looks like the Instagram app icon, which is really cool. You can see that it has like the top half is a soft touch finish on it. The bottom half is a shiny gray finish. And then there is this rainbow kind of look around. These are actually stickers. That's how cheap this thing is. You could peel them off. They're not painted on or anything like that. In the front, you have this really kind of low quality 600 by 600 pixel display. It looks kind of bluish here because it is kind of bluish in real life. And so it's a capacitive screen, but it's an incredibly cheap plastic cover on top of this. And as you can see, it's also a fingerprint magnet and reflects light like no one's business. The Instacube logo is cool though. And then on top, you've got 3 buttons. So these are kind of interesting, actually. You've got a power on and off button. It's round. And then you get this grid button, which is square. And then you get a heart button. And so the heart button lets you do what you expect. You can like a photo as you see it. Let me go to one that I actually like. And this is where you're going to see how abysmal the UI is. As you can see, it's very slow. And so you push the little heart, and guess what? It hearts it. And if you push again, on the same picture, I guess it doesn't even unheart it. So you pretty much have to go in the settings like this. Let me show you. And unheart it. There's an option to do that. Then this grid view here brings you to this kind of cube UI that lets you pick things like the liked library of your photos you've liked. Hashtag, I have a hashtag Latergram pre-programmed in here. So it hasn't loaded the pictures. Let's see if it actually does it. But it's going to load all the Instagram photos that are public that say Latergram and do a feed of that. There you go. And so that's really it in a nutshell. It's designed to show you your Instagram feed in this manner and to loop through like this all day happily. And when you walk by it and you see a picture you like, you can push the heart button on top here and heart it like this can of beans. But the strange thing about it, and this is kind of the killer flaw, is, other than the cheapness of the device to start with, is that the battery lasts about 2 hours. So if you're trying to have this run, or maybe 4 hours, I'm being a little facetious here, but it doesn't last nearly even half a day. So what you're saying is that if you have this on a shelf, you pretty much have to connect it to a micro USB charger, because the battery on this thing is just terrible. And so that's one major drawback. And other than the cheapness and the display quality, you saw the software is very slow and unresponsive. And that's because this thing is running like an Android tablet underneath that is like from 3 years ago and possibly cost $30 3 years ago. And you know how abysmal these were. Probably single core with 512 megs of RAM or 256 megs of RAM. You can also do gestures like this and see a grid view, and you can see it's loading the grid view. So let's wait for this to happen, shall we? Yeah, it is loading my grid view off of Wi-Fi. And you know what, Twit, here we have good Wi-Fi, so it's really not a Wi-Fi performance issue. Anyway, I'm gonna spare you this, but you get the feel for what I'm trying to say here. It's this is not really a great product. And then here's the killer. You can actually reboot this thing and into the Android desktop, right? Because it is running Android. And you know what happens then is you realize that behind this panel is actually an 800 by 600 landscape tablet that goes edge to edge and is being masked to be 600 by 600. And when you do that, you obviously see part of the user interface hidden behind the black frame. So you can't even use this as an Android tablet if you wanted to recycle it somewhere unless you take it apart. So I'm not sure it's worth $100 in a nutshell. It's cool. It's a cool idea. It took a while to deliver. It was a pretty painful campaign that they had in terms of satisfying their users. Lots of people were complaining. Nobody thought it was ever going to ship. They shipped, so kudos for that. But what they did ship is exactly what they promised, but a very, very poor implementation of it. So, pros and cons. Pros, well, it's cool. It's an interesting idea. Cons, it's terribly executed. The performance of the device and the software are terrible. The display is not very good. The battery life is abysmal. And it's built like crap. It's really the cheapest possible materials you can put together. It scratches just looking at it. So, yes, this is an absolute, definite don't buy. I have spent $100 on this. It's my own. I am glad that I contributed to it because I believed in the idea. But you know, this is what crowdfunding is like. You pledge, you might not get anything, and if sometimes you do get something, it might actually not be very awesome. So this is the Instacube here on Before You Buy, and I'm Myriam Joire.